Well, thank you, Jan, for inviting me to share with you today about this topic about better nutrition and better brain. And um, I really got started really, and this really the kind of what launched me into this subject was the fitness director here in my retirement community asked me if I would give some nutrition classes to the residents here. And I started this about 3 years ago. And she was really excited about presenting fitness programs and nutrition programs that would help the residents in my retirement community with boosting cognitive function. And so I put together this presentation. And as I was putting it together, I became very excited about how LifeVantage products fit into the Bredesen protocol for boosting cognitive function. And so just for those of you that don't know me, Jan, like she said, I'm a registered dietitian. I have a master's degree in nutrition, 50 years in this field, and have really been excited about my profession. I've just loved it over the last 50 years and what I've been able to do and to help others. And 12 years ago, I was introduced to a company called LifeVantage by a cardiologist that I worked with at the hospital. And so I've also been an independent consultant with LifeVantage for the last 12 years. So let's get started. I'm going to be talking a lot about Dr. Dale Bredesen and his protocol for maximizing and boosting cognitive function. His specialty really is in the arena of Alzheimer's disease. Now, I first heard Dr. Dale Bredesen talk back in 2016 when I attended the dietary supplement update that was held at the Scripps Medical System Conference in San Diego. And I think for everybody, it was in the audience, we were all kind of, amazed and almost like in shock, because what he said in 2016 at that conference is that he was having success reversing early Alzheimer's disease. Yes. And he showed a couple videos of some of his patients that he had actually placed them on the protocol and had taken them through the protocol. At the beginning, he showed the video and their cognitive function, and then a year later, and showed that you could see that they had improved, right? So Dr. Dale Bredesen has developed another alternative root cause theory of Alzheimer's disease. He's also developed a protocol. Now, Dr. Dale Bredesen says that Alzheimer's disease is like a roof with 36 holes. And he said that the reason why in the last 30 years, why the Alzheimer's disease drugs have not been very effective at treating Alzheimer's disease, because they only plug one hole. And he says there are many, many contributors to cognitive decline, not just to Alzheimer's disease, but all cognitive decline and all conditions that relate to that, right? And some statistics that he stated is that he said there are 5.4 million people living with Alzheimer's disease, third leading cause of death when you can include all dementias as well. And that women have a greater chance of dying from Alzheimer's disease and breast cancer, which I did not know that. And really what his approach is that, as he says, the drugs kind of are treating symptoms, and rather he claims that his protocol actually looks at root cause. So, and he also has a different theory on why people develop Alzheimer's disease. He calls it synaptic neurobiochemistry. And Jan, I'll be sending you this link. So it's apollohealth.com. There's a little typo there. I just want you to see that, apollohealth.com. And I will send you that link, Jan, so you can share with everybody, okay? Or I can type it in the chat message too.
Okay, thank you.
So this is what he said, that what we call Alzheimer's disease is a protective response. Amyloid, which we have vilified, is not the cause, but is actually a protective part of the immune system. What flips the switch is dozens of contributors. The good news, and this is where hope comes in. We all need hope. Don't we need hope? The good news is that all of these contributors are treatable. So what are those contributors? So the Bredesen protocol is a lifestyle approach. And it's about trying to mitigate environmental factors, nutritional biochemistry factors within our bodies, and it's really about lifestyle as well. So the Bredesen protocol incorporates and encompasses 7 main areas. It's nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress, stimulation, detox, and supplements. And so this talk, I'm going to be focused on not all of these, but I'll choose about 3 to 4 and we'll talk about those. So let's talk about Bredesen protocol and getting down to root cause. And there's kind of 3 biggies that Dr. Bredesen talks about. Oxidative stress, inflammation, the gut. Oxidative stress, inflammation, and the gut. So those are the 3 biggies. There's, like you said, like I said, there's 32 or 36 contributors. But if you look at oxidative stress is really root cause. That is what triggers inflammation and inflammation in the brain. So there's 14,400 research articles linking oxidative stress to all of your neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, ALS, dementia, multiple sclerosis. All of these diseases have this in common, is oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain. They call it neuroinflammation. So what exactly is oxidative stress? Well, some of you have probably heard of free radical damage. Maybe you've heard of that, right? So oxidative stress is the damage done to your cells by toxic molecules called free radicals. And when your cells are bombarded with these free radicals, it causes your cell and your cell function to decline, as you can see on the screen here. Oxidative stress is also called the rusting of the body from the inside out. Oxidation, think of rusting of metals. That's oxidation on that metal. That's going on inside your body. So this oxidative stress is the leading theory of why we age and we get all of these diseases of aging. Again, if you go to the Library of Medicine and you research oxidative stress, you're going to get about 300,000 research articles linking free radical damage, oxidative stress with all the diseases of aging. And we get those free radicals, most of them come from our environment. Pollution, chemicals in our food, and herbicides, pesticides, UV rays, microwaves, even car batteries and fuels. So there's so many sources of oxidative stress in our environment. In fact, I read a statistic said that since the Industrial Revolution, there have been 85,000 chemicals introduced into our environment. And, I just really think that, our cells really were not designed really to handle all of that oxidative stress and free radical damage. And the other biggie that Dr. Bredesen talks about, in fact, prominent neurologists are looking very, very, very closely at what I call the gut-brain axis, and that is the role of the microbiome. The slide here, it says microbiota. Microbiome is all of the viruses, the bacteria, and the fungi that live within your gut. You have more DNA in your gut than you have in the rest of your body. Your microbiome actually weighs about 5 pounds, believe it or not. And I saw an article one time that said that the microbiome is the organ you didn't know you had. And this is an exploding area of research, is with the microbiome. And now they believe that the microbiome is related to so many chronic diseases, and especially something that we call the gut-brain axis. And so I like what when somebody said, what goes on the gut doesn't stay in the gut. There's something called the gut-brain axis, and that is the gut influences the brain, And the influence on the gut can influence brain neurotransmitters such as serotonin. You have more serotonin in your gut than in your brain. Stress, anxiety, mood, behavior, and has a profound effect on neurodegenerative diseases, like I said. So having a healthy microbiome is imperative. So there's many, many other major contributors to cognitive decline and all of the neurodegenerative diseases that we're seeing in our society. So this is kind of a screenshot I took from a research article that was authored by Dr. Dale Bredesen, published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease and Parkinson's Disease. That was in 2018, where he was able to demonstrate the reversal of cognitive decline with 100 patients. And he said what you need to do and what you need to address is now getting down to the root cause. Remember, I already talked about the gut and the oxidative stress, inflammation. There are several other insults that he says you need to identify and treat, for example, pathogens. You need to identify insulin resistance, which is associated with diabetes. You need to correct any nutrient deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, and you need to identify toxins. You need to detoxify your cells, particularly of heavy metals. Now, he says each patient has a different combination of the potential many contributors to cognitive decline. The approach is treatment, it's targeted, and it's personalized. Now, this is more what we might call that integrative functional medicine approach to cognitive decline. And like Dr. Bredesen said, is that mainstream medicine has been a little slow to adopt this because, again, like they've been going down the drug route. But he said, if you want to get to root cause, he really feels that this is the approach that is working. And I really believe this will be taking off big time in the future. He's so hopeful. When you listen to Dr. Dale Bredesen, if you ever watch any of his videos on YouTube, it gives you hope. It gives you hope that yes, something can be done. I saw Dr. Dale Bredesen, and like I said early on in 2016, and was really wowed and impressed by him. Now, fast forward just this year in January 2023, I heard him speak again at the Scripps Dietary Supplement Update, and where he presented again more research on the success of his protocol. Now, what this chart does, it compares what he calls the RECODE program, his protocol. He calls it RECODE. And these are the Alzheimer's drugs. Well, this is no treatment here, but these are 3 of the Alzheimer's drugs. And you can see what they do is that they help slow it down and slow down Alzheimer's disease some. It has a bit of effect at slowing down Alzheimer's disease or change in cognitive performance. We can call cognitive performance. That's really what they're measuring, is cognitive performance. So what you look with this RECODE program, this green bar is showing improvement. So that gives you a lot of hope, doesn't it? It really does give us hope. So what I did, because his approach is uniquely different, and it's what I love. It's because what I teach and what I preach and what I'm passionate about, and much of what's on his protocol, I've been teaching for the last 10 to 12 years. But I just found this posted in his most recent study. And what I did was I took and screenshotted his protocol. And then what I did was I looked at what I've been doing, what I've been teaching people, how this fits into his protocol. So what you're seeing on your screen is that his protocol has kind of 3 columns here. Do you see that? You've got the goal, there's the approach, and then the rationale, the why. So this is the goal, the approach, and this is the why. Why we are using this approach. What's going to be the outcome of this approach. So the first thing, of course, is diet. And his diet is to minimize simple carbohydrates and minimize inflammation from the diet. Because there's anti-inflammatory diets and there's pro-inflammatory diet. Of course, the standard American diet is pro-inflammatory, whereas a Mediterranean diet with low glycemic index carbohydrates, anti-inflammatory, right? So low GI carbs would be those that are very minimally processed, whole carbohydrates, beans and lentils, old-fashioned rolled oats, steel cut oats, brown rice, trying to think whole, really chewy, multi-grain whole breads. And of course, I believe that the best bread would be a whole grain, multi-grain sourdough bread. So that would be your diet. He believes too that a mildly ketogenic diet, which is a high fat diet. So Mediterranean diet, low GI carbs, lower on the carbs and higher on the fat particularly from olive oil and from coconut oil. Okay, so that is the diet approach. Now there's something that he recommends, which is, I recommend as well, and have taught this for a number of years, and that is to fast 12 hours each night, overnight, and you stop eating 3 hours prior to bedtime. I believe that fasting 13 to 14 hours is even better. So the maximum number of hours that you can fast, like 12 to 14 overnight, is going to help your cells to do something called autophagy or autophagy. And this is the process where the cells clean up the garbage. It's like overnight, they do this house cleaning kind of overnight. And so that fasting will help with that taking out the cellular garbage, and does that overnight. And another way to increase this autophagy overnight is to increase your sirtuins. And we have, LifeVantage has a product called Protandim NAD that significantly increases the production of these sirtuins. So here's a strategy right away. We talked about the diet. Next, overnight fast, not eating, stopping 3 hours before bedtime, and adding the Protandim NAD. Now, the other thing that this does is it reduces insulin levels, because Alzheimer's disease is also called diabetes of the brain, highly associated with high insulin levels and diabetes. So that's another reason for this overnight fast. Reducing stress, critically important. Optimizing sleep is another one. So critically important to give your brain rest. Now, LifeVantage just introduced a product called Reset PM. These are nutrients that you take at bedtime and some calming herbs to help to calm the brain down so that you sleep better. This protocol includes some exercise, 30 to 60 minutes per day, 4 to 6 days a week. So as you can see, this is really comprehensive. It's really focusing on lifestyle. So homocysteine is another compound that they found that chemical in your bloodstream that can contribute to the cognitive decline. And how do you reduce your homocysteine? Mainly by methylated B vitamins, B12 particularly. And how do you do that? Well, this is just it's kind of amazing, because LifeVantage just launched a micronutrient line. We've talked about the Reset PM micronutrients. We have a Rise AM micronutrients, which contribute and provide these methylated B vitamins. What's this methylated thing? That is important because about half the population have something called the MTHFR gene, which means that they cannot metabolize and utilize B vitamins unless they are methylated. So the Rise AM nutrients from LifeVantage will take care of that. Knowing your serum B12 level is critically important as well. And you want it to be above 500, right? You want it to be in a more optimum range, not just because the range is huge. It's like between 200 to 1200. So you really want to be mid or higher, right? You want to have a great optimal B12 level as well. Now, there's something called CRP. That is a measure of the amount of inflammation in your body. And you want that to be low, right? You want to measure that and know if it's where you are on your CRP. I just had mine tested. Mine measured, it's less than 1. It's like 0.5, I think. It's pretty low. And of course, how do you get that inflammation down? I talked about the anti-inflammatory diet, right? And you can take some other nutrients, but particularly there's one that is important, and that is fish oils, DHA, EPA, but especially the DHA, because fish oils have 2 different types of fatty acids. They have DHA and they have EPA. And think of it this way. The DHA in fish oils, that's for the brain. The EPA, that's for the heart. Life Vantage, we have a fish oil called Omega Plus that has twice as much DHA as EPA. So this is an excellent fish oil for anyone that has cognitive decline. It provides that an increased boost of that DHA. And also to reduce your inflammation, what do you need to do? You need to reduce first what? Oxidative stress. That triggers the inflammation. How are you going to do that? Like we said, diet, the fish oils, and the protandim and RF2 from Life Vantage. Protandim and RF2 reduces oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. The longer you take that and the longer you can get your oxidative stress down, the better it is at reducing that inflammation. Fasting insulin less than 7, knowing what your blood sugar levels are in something called your hemoglobin A1C. So in other words, pay attention when you go to your doctor, you know, what's my fasting blood sugar, but an even more important number is something called hemoglobin A1C, HbA1c. And this is a measurement of your long-term blood sugar control. It's like, what is your blood sugar doing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right, over 3 months? Less than 5.5. I just had mine tested. Mine is 5.1. I'm good on this one. So that's another good thing to know. Hormone balance, knowing especially what your cortisol level is important. There are some hormone levels here. Knowing, having your thyroid levels optimized as well. Then the GI health. That's the biggie, right? Remember I said the gut, the brain axis, you want a healthy microbiome. How are you going to do that? Well, diet again is number 1. Eliminate those packaged foods with all those additives and eat unprocessed whole foods. Lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, particularly organic, right? To reduce any residues or pesticides and herbicides in those fruits and vegetables. Raise your own garden, right? What a better way to do that. So for your gut, high fiber diet, take probiotics and prebiotics. And Jan can get back to you and tell you a lot more about the probiotic and prebiotic from Life Vantage, because this is actually the dynamite duo for a healthy microbiome. Let's see, what do we have? You want to reduce a certain chemical called A beta, and he recommends, Dr. Dale Bredeson recommends curcumin and ashwagandha. Well, those are 2 plant extracts that are found in the protandim NRF2. Also for cognitive enhancement, bacopa, you'll find, in magnesium, you'll find the bacopa in the protandim NRF2 from Life Vantage. A vitamin D3 to get your vitamin D levels up, also with K2. Again, the micronutrients our company just launched. We have a D3 plus product that includes both the magnesium, the K2 in 2 different forms, and plenty of that vitamin D3. Another thing that can help with the brain neurons to communicate and function is, again, that DHA. Optimize the antioxidants. Now, Dr. Bredeson, I don't think has heard of protandim NRF2. He recommends a number of what we call the direct antioxidants. These are tocopherols are vitamin E forms, blueberries, NIC, ascorbic acid, that's vitamin C, alpha lipoic acid. You actually will find some of these in some of our Protandim products as well. But if to get to optimize antioxidants, the best way to get your antioxidants is, and the most powerful antioxidants are your cellular antioxidants. And the way that you get more of your cellular antioxidants is with NRF2 activation. And that, again, that's that Protandim NRF2. So your cellular antioxidants, those are a million times more potent than what you can get in your food, and even more potent than and some of these antioxidant supplements, right? So what you're doing is you're getting your cells to make antioxidants rather than taking them. Kind of a clever concept. Again, Jan's brilliant about all this, and she can also go a little more in depth with you after this webinar. There's also a NRF2 collagen. We have a liquid collagen with fish peptides that also helps to activate those potent antioxidant cellular enzymes and to optimize zinc and copper that comes from our micronutrients. And this is also, I would say, the top in the top 5 of the goals you want to accomplish for your cognitive health. The top 5 would be optimizing your mitochondrial function. The mitochondria are your energy factories in your cells. This is where all of your cellular energy is produced. When you lose your mitochondria, your cells die. Your brain is consumes, I think the statistic is like 20% of all your cellular energy is consumed by your brain. It's a high energy consumption organ. You need a lot of mitochondria. But with what they've identified is that as you cognitive decline is highly associated also with the decline of your mitochondria. As you lose your mitochondria, your cognitive function goes down. So how are you going to get your mitochondria back up and running again? What are you going to do to get those energy factories going? There's several direct antioxidants and nutrients that Dr. Bredesen recommends. We have a Protandim product that is specifically formulated, designed, and studied, and we have the research showing that Protandim NRF1 actually increases the genes necessary to restore your mitochondria. So again, this is what I've been doing, and I'm 73, I'll be 74 in June, and this is what I've been doing, all of this to keep my brain up and running and functioning. I'm going to go on down here to the increasing sirtuin function. That's what this SIRT1 is. He recommends resveratrol. Protandim NAD will do that very nicely as well. Excludes heavy metal toxicity. You want to detoxify your brain and your body and your liver of heavy metals. Protandim NRF2 increases a cellular antioxidant called glutathione. Glutathione function is to detoxify heavy metals. Glutathione, the most important antioxidant for your brain, the one you've probably never heard about, right? Glutathione, but it's not something you take in a pill. That's why you probably never heard of it. You have to get your cells to make it. Again, Protandim NRF2, you're going to make antioxidants rather than taking. And last but not least, MCT. Where do you find MCTs? Medium chain triglycerides. You will find that in coconut oil. Coconut oil, yes. I buy these big old jugs of coconut oil when we go to Costco, the organic coconut oil. And I use a lot of it in cooking and my granola bars and anything that I bake. Jim likes to put it, my husband likes to put it on his toast in place of butter. Put it in my oatmeal and stir a little in there. It's so yummy and delicious. Again, it's to increase that fat in your diet from healthy fats that are going to feed your brain, right? And it won't put weight on. It'll activate the brain, make your brain work, but without gaining weight. Now, how do you get started? How do you learn more about the Bredesen protocol? Like I said, there's some wonderful YouTube interviews by Dr. Dale Bredesen. You can go to apollohealth.com and research there. And you can find an integrated medicine clinic that offers a Bredesen protocol. Not many of your mainstream clinics, your doctor, if you go to your doctor, they may not be trained in this protocol. It's a pretty new thing, right? It's pretty new. But if you go to apollohealth.com, they will help you to find a clinic near you where you can go and maybe see if this protocol or something like this is great. But in the meantime, certainly if you're interested in any of those life-ending products that I talked about today, get back to Jan. I'll get back to the person who invited you to this, or the person who invited you to this webinar. Get back to the Life Advantage consultant that invited you to watch this, and you can get your questions answered and see which, find out which one of those that we talked about you're most interested in, because I threw out a ton of information. It is recorded. I'm going to send this to Jan, this recording, and you can watch it again, and I hope you do. So with that, I am going to stop sharing, and I am going to answer some questions. So hold on while I stop the recording, everybody. Okay, all right, so I've stopped the recording, and now I'm going to open it up for some questions. Do I have any questions in the chat box? Do I see any questions in the chat box? Type 2 diabetes in a 12-hour fast. Okay, good question, Nikki. So with a 12-hour fast, if you have type 2 diabetes, sometimes your diabetes educator may want you to have a snack of some kind, maybe at bedtime, also depending on what your medications you're taking or your insulin that you might be taking. So make sure that when if you're working with a diabetes educator and they've advised that, you'll want to ask them about that. So you can maybe figure out, like, can you still take your bedtime snack and still figure out, maybe delay your breakfast maybe a little later in the morning so you can get that 12-hour fast, right? At least overnight. You maybe can't do that 3 hours, but maybe you could do that 12-hour overnight fasting. Okay, so that is a great question, Nikki. Okay, any other questions?
Deb, do you guys have any questions?